auxiliary grids. I wish I had a better example, but so an example of this is, say we have a grid, and the example you're going to see now is I have a piece of myocardium, and then I have the transmembrane voltage, but then I also, that was added later, not part of the model, is I have an electrode plaque that I placed on top of. So there's a piece of tissue and there's an electrode plaque there. So let's see, vector grid, auxiliary grid. Actually, so let me actually, so there's no rotation. So if you load a 2D model, then you tend, then Meshalizer doesn't allow rotations because it just gets annoying. But so if you shut it off, you can see, if you look here, there's actually an electrode plaque floating above the surface. And that's the auxiliary grid. So that wasn't part of the original grid. There's the original grid. So let's reset the transform. Let's turn off rotation. And on the electrode plaque, we have different data. So we have transmembrane voltage on, again, we have to optimal, get the right. We can see there's the, so if we run the whole simulation again. There we have just basically, and then we have some discontinuities in the tissue. And then we wanted to compute what does an electrode plaque see above the tissue. Then we go back to our auxiliary grid, turn it on, we'll color the vertices according to the data. Again, just like real data, we can also look at, under some instances, we can look at the, why does it do, why does this Mac do this? So annoying, Mac. There is there's an electrogram from the highlighted. So if we go over here, where did it go? Where did you go? If you lose it, you should be able to get back. Raising. Geez, how did it do that? Man, this Mac is weird. I didn't know you could do that. See, I'm learning too. So there you can see the red dot. That's the highlighted auxiliary grid point. And if we then, again, I'm using the arrow key on, I click in the model window and click the arrow key. And you can see, you see the green line. Can you see that there's a faint green line in the time series window? That is the current time. So as the wavefront moves, hits the dot, we can see that we are exactly at the zero crossing. And so that's the auxiliary grid data. So that auxiliary grid data was created, could have been created in post-processing, and we just put a grid. But we're not really limited to points. We could actually, in this auxiliary grid, if you look at the, where am I looking? Auxiliary grids, data, input files. Auxiliary grids can have any sort of data. Well, any sort of element you can have. It's just like an element file for, so you have to have a bunch of points, but you can connect those points into elements, so you can connect them into lines, or you can connect them into surfaces, or you can connect them into 3D entities, tetrahedra or hexahedra, and you can associate data with each point. So you can really have a grid that moves and changes with every time. You can't do it. It's not as complicated as a full model, but it still gives you a lot of capability of adding arbitrarily shaped entities that change over time in this auxiliary grid. So my example only has points, but it could easily be lines, or it could be, you could even be like another heart mesh, or it could be anything. So, and you still can't do everything you can with a regular mesh, but it gives you a nice perspective. Another common use, people often use it for when they want to display phase singularities. You can map those onto your regular mesh, and they can move with time. So there's auxiliary grids. Again, you can control just points. And then you can make these a bit bigger. So there again, you can see the highlighted point and where the time trace was from, and turn off the highlight.